Hi guys, back again. You probably just watched the video that covered the replacement of the pressure tank on the lift pump for our water system. Now, I had previously shot a video that covered the major work that I was doing. It really all started what I wanted: a better quality of water going to the house. The house was drawing direct from the well pump through a filter to the shower and kitchen, etc. We don't drink that water. We just use that for cleaning purposes, etc., etc. We use bottled water for drinking and cooking. That SD card became corrupt with that file on it, so that was a bit of a nuisance. So in this video, it was more of an overview of where I was going with it. So I'm really never one for doing things by half. So I started by deciding that, okay, if we're going to be drawing off the tanks, the water needs to be clean. The tanks haven't been cleaned out. So I'd start by doing that. And of course, when I got there, the tank room is quite dirty and messy. So I went through and cleaned all that out, washed down everything with a pressure washer, got rid of some ant nests and mounds that were there, which are coming back. So I'll have to poison those nests. So when I got tanks open and drained, they were quite black inside. I guess I've been a bit remiss in knowing or needing to actually do that, and they were quite black. So I pressure washed the inside of them the best I could, and cleaned the sediment and catchment through the drain plugs out the bottom, and got those up to scratch with clear water. Then it was a case of, well, we've got this far, let's do the changing in the pipe work I needed to route that to the house and to complete the whole thing. Well, there was a tank. I had a stainless steel tank replacement, and it seemed like the best time to do that. Make it a complete job rather than a half-hearted one. So I hope you enjoy. I hope it doesn't bore you too much. If it doesn't interest you any more than what you saw in the first one, well, please move on to the next one, and I'll catch you later. Thanks, guys. This is the tank room that houses our water pumps as well. 2 tanks, 2,000 litres each. I spent the best part of 2 days draining those and giving them a pressure wash on the inside. To be honest, they've been there 12 years, and that's the first time I've done that. Should have done that a long time ago. But the water from those is normally being used for watering plants and things out there. But I had a bright idea that the water which is going to the house was actually pulling straight out of the ground on the pump, which is that one there with its cover off. So that goes down into the ground. The pipes are in front of it. They come through the back wall of that box that they're living in. That's in there. Then they go down into the ground there. I think we're only down about 25 metres in that one. Would have liked to have gone down further, but when we put that in, I was still finding my way in Thailand and negotiating stuff. So, but it works. Height of summer, where the water table's low, occasionally we'll have a situation where the pump will cycle because the water table has dropped below the end of the bottom of the pickup. But we might rebore that one at some point in the future. But the current problem is this pump here. I started by cleaning out the tanks, cleaning out the room here. We did have a duck, but I'm afraid that's gone to coddies. Some roaming dogs took it, and that's gone. Sad, but that's the way of nature. Anyway, so all of this soil out here off the edge of the concrete was actually about 200 mil higher than the concrete because there's a large ant nest underneath this concrete pad,
and I blew all that away. Took a long time to do it, but as you can see, the ants have been busy building, sealing up all the holes that I've made. So we're going to have to treat this ground with some nest kill so that doesn't happen again and plus stays a bit cleaner. This is what the ants do. We start with a flat bit of ground. It was flat, it was below the level of this concrete of the tank apron, and then they start to build a mound, and it gets taller and taller and taller. And there we go, there's an ant there now, there's a few of them. And they build these enormous mounds. And honestly, they cement them together with something, saliva or whatever it is, but they are really, really like concrete. Anyway, that's what I'm trying to get rid of here. And that's what I did get rid of over there where we just were talking about it. Now, let's go back around to the tank room, the tank box. And here we are here. So as I was saying, what I wanted to do was get cleaner water for the house. We don't use it for drinking, it's for showering, washing, etc., etc. And what's happening is it's coming up with this pump and going out along this pipe towards the house. Now, we do have a filter on the back wall of the shower block there, which is where the water goes into there, so that's filtered. But it was plugging up quite regularly, so I decided I need to find a way to actually probably clean the water to a degree, get rid of some of the sediment that was in it. So the plan was to start using the water from these tanks. The way the system works is that pump in front of us pumps water two ways. Get my hand so you can see it. That's the outlet of the pump there. It goes out and around and under this junction here to this T that goes to the house now. This comes off that same line. This is the pipe that fills the primary tank, goes in there. There's a ball valve on the top, so when the tank is full, the valve closes and the water doesn't get diverted in there. Now, these two tanks are connected. See the gate valve here, and it goes into the larger pipe, which goes across to that second tank, to the bottom there. So as the first tank fills, because these are joined in tandem, the water level rises in the second tank as too. So it hasn't got an inlet feed at the top. It's actually being fed off the first tank. Going past that, there's a tap, a stop. Then you see the pipe turns 90-degree right out towards the fence. Well, that's just a drain. The intention of that is to drain the tanks occasionally if there's a build-up of sediment or bad water or whatever. Well, that's what I was doing. I had to drain both tanks and pressure wash the inside. They were filthy. And try and get the sediment out the bottom, which I did. The intention was to now use the water out of these tanks, which will have gone in the tank, and the sediment will have all dropped to the bottom, actually below the level of those gate valves, because they're up about 3 inches from the bottom. And so that's like a sedimenter tank. So a lot of the solids will be dropping to this tank, and a cleaner water will be going out through those, which not only goes to the other tank, but it goes to this pump here. This is the surface pump, which normally does all the watering. The pipes on the other side go out to this manifold I've got out here to various places. Well, a branch of that manifold actually does go tandem off towards where the house is and stops, because before the house was there, we had a flower patch there and we were doing a lot of watering. So I thought, bright idea. What I can do is if those tanks have clean water in them, they've sedimented a lot of the solids out, so it will be clearer than the water that's actually coming up from the bore on the first pump. And if I send that off towards the house, where we originally had a single pipe, a 25mm, here to a stopcock, going to the house, it actually goes to the shower block first. It comes up through a vertical filter with a PPE element inside, and that feeds all of that. Well, that filter does get blocked, and most of it's a lot of dirt and sediment, so if I could alleviate that, we should have cleaner water. So what it did was, that second pipe, which used to be going to the flowers here, it had an end cap on it. So I've opened that, I brought it up to its own gate valve, and I've teed it into the 25mm that was originally here in the original feed. So we've got two taps. If I close off the 25mm, which is now, and open up the one on the 35, we're getting water from the tank. If I reverse those, close that, open this, we're getting water straight off the primary pump out the bore. So that gives us options. And the intention was to try it. And the upshot of that seems to be good. The water seems to be cleaner. And what is noticeable too is that one being primarily a surface pump, it's not pulling, using any of its torque to pull water up. It's almost gravity feed out of those tanks. It actually produces a better head of pressure, and we're getting much better pressure in the shower and the internal taps and everything too. So that's that part of the job done. In the future, I will concrete this second half of the apron, and after I've killed the ant nests, and that'll keep this place a bit cleaner and workable. But the next sort of problem that I need to address is these pumps. Now, this pump here, this guy is a couple of years old, maybe 3 years old, maybe 4. But they have a double thickness steel tank. And the problem with them is, as you can see, this one is rusted. They rust badly. It is a pressure tank and a priming tank all in one, but it's seen better days. It seems quite dry now, but the last few days has been a bit of water dripping out of there. So anyway, it needs to be replaced. Now, in recent years, there are versions of these pumps with a stainless steel tank, which is a much better idea. But buying tanks, stainless or otherwise, I struggled. I searched high and low and I couldn't find them. Anyway, I managed to get a link from somebody else, so obviously my search terms weren't pulling up what I wanted. But once I used his link that he had, Google seemed to learn what I was looking for, and I found there's a number of people out there that manufacturing stainless steel tanks for these aftermarket, that we can replace them. Previously, we're having to replace the whole pump once the tank is gone. I've done that a couple of times, and people say, oh, that's all you can do, you can't get tanks. Well, it seemed like a hole in the market. It was a perfect market space for somebody to get into, and obviously they did. Anyway, I bought 2 stainless steel tanks, and I put one on an old pump, which was actually the original pump that used to live over there when I first met Talony. So I'm busy still trying to get that pump running, because the motor and pump seemed fine, but just needs to be renewed on some of its hardware, consumable hardware, like the valves and things like that. So we're getting there with that. But this guy's still pumping perfectly well, but he needs a tank. So all the securing bolts and everything that hold it in, they're all badly rusted. Some of them were welded as security, so people couldn't come in and unbolt it and take it away. So I'll have to deal with that. It'll be more than a simple unscrewing and replacing, but I got the tank. It's a matter of just doing it. And because that pump, how do I say, because I did this other modification where the tank and the surface pump are now feeding the house, I've got 4,000 litres above ground. So if I don't manage to get this done in one day, we're not going to use 4,000 litres of water in the house, which this one will be providing us for. So if we do a bit of watering, we'll knock it down, but I've got a bit of breathing space. If that pump's out of commission for a day, that would be okay. We can get by on that. So that's what we're doing now, and we'll see how that eventuates.